just when I thought I could spend the next 6 months talking about how good I am because I predicted Penrith Panthers to win the 2022 Premiership back in February, we are putting our balls on the line once again because, to be honest, what should be the most prestigious prize in rugby league is up for grabs in England, because over the next few weeks, the Rugby League World Cup, for the first time since 2017, is on the line, and it could be the most competitive World Cup, certainly of the modern era. The only bad thing is we're going to have to be getting up at 2 a.m. all the time. So get ready to become ours Rugby League fans, but let's get straight into it. I'm going to be giving you guys my pool predictions, who I think will win, obviously, who I think is going to get player of the tournament, and let's get straight into the good stuff. But guys and gals, before we get any more into the video, please smash that like button if you enjoy it, comment your thoughts down below, and of course subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It is completely free and you can always unsubscribe later, so just smash that button right now. But let's get straight back into the video. Now, just before I get into Group A, I have to come clean. I'm not a big Super League viewer, so I'm going to be going through this with an NRL brain. And I'm sorry, England fans, because you may be expecting a bit of bias, and that's certainly the case, because I think that Samoa are going to top Group A. I think they have the strongest spine outside of the top two nations in Australia and New Zealand, and if there's any half who's going to do something special in this World Cup outside of the top dogs, it's going to be Jerome Luai. This Samoa side, it has the back line to compete with any nation. Its forward pack, certainly in the back row, is a bit weaker, but they have Papali'i and Barlow, which could be the best front row in the tournament. I know the dummy half, Danny Levi, isn't at the quality of some of the other hookers in this competition, but Suali'i at fullback, and then the halves of Jerome Luai and Anthony Milford. I think that's what gives Samoa the edge. Like I said, I'm not much of a Super League watcher, but England, they still have a strong squad. It's nowhere as near as what I think as it was in 2017. Obviously not the same. Josh Hodgson, he's out with that ACL injury, which is a big blow, but they still got guys like George Williams, Johnny Bateman, Elliot Whitehead. It's still a very, very strong side, but I think Samoa, they know this is the chance to get a World Cup, because we don't know what's going to happen with the Origin eligibility rules in the future. So I think they know this is their strongest chance, and I think that if there's ever going to be a World Cup where England struggle, it's going to be this one. So I've got Samoa topping the group, England coming in second, followed by France, and unfortunately Greece, where rugby league was illegal only a few months ago. I think they're going to come in last. Now, there's a common theme in the rest of these group stages. There are clear two top dogs, mainly because they're rugby league nations, and then the rest are kind of filler. But this is probably the most predictable one. I've got Australia topping the group. Their 1-17 is probably the strongest. You could argue maybe a nation like New Zealand has a stronger 1-17, but no one has the depth of Australia. They're just going to be trying new things. So maybe they can lose a game to Fiji, but I expect them to win all their games by 13 plus. I then think Fiji, they're going to come second, followed by Scotland, and followed by Italy. Fiji, maybe they can lose it. They did struggle against PNG earlier this year, but I still think they're easily the strongest side out of themselves, Scotland and Italy, but no one's got a chance of upsetting Australia in that group. So I'm going to go Australia first, but Fiji, they should also get through comfortably. Group C is very similar to Group B. I've got New Zealand topping the group. Such a strong side. It's probably New Zealand's strongest side ever, followed by Lebanon, similar to Fiji. They're just the most rugby league nation. I don't know their squad exactly. I should have checked that. That's on me. But I think they got guys like Mitchell Moses and that going over. But to be honest, there's no way they're going to lose to Ireland. In saying that, someone like Luke Keary has the capabilities of beating a side like Lebanon if he's at his best, but I just don't see it happening. And unfortunately, coming last, I got Jamaica. I love Cool Runnings, but I don't know if they're going to be able to channel that Jamaican bobsled team spirit. But it'll be interesting to see, and if they can cause an upset, I'll be the first one cheering. So I've got New Zealand topping the group, followed by Lebanon, Ireland, and then Jamaica. And then the final group, I'm not so sure about. This one's the closest to Group A in terms of who comes out on top. And I also think that it's probably a 3-horse race. I've got Tonga coming first, PNG coming second, Cook Islands coming third, and Wales coming fourth. Cook Islands squad isn't as strong as what it's been in the past, but still a proud rugby league nation. They could have got guys like Joey Manu, but instead they've obviously chosen New Zealand. I think PNG proved that they can challenge Tonga as well with their impressive win against Fiji earlier this year. In saying that, I think Tonga, they've been waiting for this since 2019. They've got something to prove, and that backline, that forward pack, it's as good as Australia's. The spine is a bit weak, but in saying that, I don't think any of the rest of the spines in this group are as good anyway. So I've got Tonga coming first, PNG coming second, Cook Islands coming third, and I've got Wales coming in at last place. Now, let's get straight into what is going to be the most interesting debate, because in the semi-finals, if they win all their games, Australia will face New Zealand. The England boys have made sure that they won't meet either side until they may play them in the final. So this, honestly, it probably is the final come early. Like I said, New Zealand's 1-17 is as strong as paper. What a spine. Joey Manu at fullback, who has proven, while he's not as good as Tedesco, obviously Tedesco plays fullback for the same club, he is one of the best outside backs in the competition. You've got a tremendous halves pairing in Dylan Brown and Jerome Hughes. And that question of their long kicking game, they've got Kieran Foran there on the bench who could replace either of them. So that's amazing. And then you back it up with who I think is probably the best dummy half in the competition, Brandon Smith. Their forward pack, especially the front row, is probably stronger than Australia's. They're going to have to leave a guy like Jared Hargraves or Moses Leota or even Jesse Bromwich on the bench. That is scary. Like I said, 1-17, New Zealand may have the edge. Depth-wise, you got to go Australia. I do think that the winner of this match wins the World Cup. In saying that, this may just belt the shit out of each other, and then we might not know, because they both will be undermanned going into that final, because this is the final come early, Australia versus New Zealand. But there's a different level when it comes to international. There's rugby league bias, and then there's Rugby League World Cup bias. I just can't go past Australia, because if Tedesco, Munster, Cleary or Cherry Evans and Harry Grant or Ben Hunt fire, there's no team here that's going to be able to stop that spine. Even if it's just like Tedesco and Munster can go off, I don't see New Zealand being able to match them. For New Zealand to win, all of their spine has to have a complete game, whereas Australia, they don't really need to. All Australia have to do is match them in the forward pack, and then I think that is where Australia can come home to roost. They still got a good forward pack. Tino, Jakey, you expect them to start. Probably Carrigan, guys like Cotter and Nanai coming off the bench. Ben Hunt's probably the best dummy half in this tournament, which is funny because he's playing halfback outside of Brandon Smith. So that is the final come early. I can't wait for it. I think Australia win with no confidence in the world. I just think that if there is an injury in the group stages, Australia will have a better chance of covering it, unless it's in the front row, because like I said, I actually think the Kiwis forward pack is stronger. But even if the Kiwis forward pack dominates, it's going to be hard for them to overcome Australia, especially, like, I haven't even mentioned the centers are going to be like Latrell Mitchell, Jack Whiten, and then you got the Fox and Valentine Holmes on the wing. And in saying that, Campbell Graham can come in and do a job. So if you got Tedesco, if you got Latrell, Munster, there's just no way at their best that team is going to lose. And I think that Australia will be able to beat New Zealand in a tight one. But who does Australia meet in the final if that is the case? I've gone a big rogue here. Everyone thinks it's going to be Tonga because of what they did in 2019. Everyone's expecting England to do big things because they are the home nation. I have gone neither. I think that Samoa is the team to face Australia in the World Cup final. They've got a backline that I think could be the challenge to Australia, in the sense that I think it's probably better than every nation's besides the favourites. Their halves pairing, it's pretty good. Anthony Milford, it's obvious he's nowhere near as good as he once was, and saying that, who's probably the night's best player outside of David Klemmer this year. but Jerome Luai, so much confidence, and if he's that good for New South Wales over the past 2 years, if he's that good for Penrith, imagine what he's going to be like for Samoa, especially when they have the entire Penrith backline plus Joseph Suaalii, who maybe he might struggle at fullback with his ball playing, but against any of these nations, you expect him to run over 200 metres. He's similar to Joey Manu. And I just think that Samoa, they have a better backline than Tonga and England. They might be a bit weaker when it comes to forward pack depth, especially if Papali'i or Bolo go down. But if they can just match them in their forwards, similar to Australia, I think they have enough class in their spine and in their backline to get the job done. So my final for the Rugby League World Cup is Australia and Samoa, and I have Australia winning it all. Just too strong. I know this is meant to be the most unpredictable World Cup of the modern era, but I just don't see anyone gonna be able to pip Australia. They are the favourites for a reason. They're not $1.20 favourites because I do think that New Zealand will win, but whoever wins that semi-final, then I think they're going to win. It'll be interesting to see if Australia or New Zealand lose a group match. It'd probably have to be New Zealand against Lebanon or Australia to Fiji, because otherwise it's a shame we're not getting this as a final, but I understand England doing it, and it gives, maybe we get to see Tonga or Samoa in a final, and I think that Samoa, on the back of their halves pairing, have the strongest side, because as good as Tonga is, Amone and Lolohea, even without Gatoni Staggs, who was a centre, they're going to struggle. England, they've got a pretty good spine too, but I just think that Jerome Luai is coming in with such form. They have the Penrith backline, for Christ's sake. So I think Australia, they'll dethrone Samoa in the Rugby League World Cup final, but Samoa, they'll go down swinging. There won't be 13 plus, it'll be close. And top try scorer, they'll receive that too, because I think that Brian To'o is going to be the top try scorer of the Rugby League World Cup, especially if he's on that left. If they have Tago, To'o and Luai on their left, and they can just have like Sua or Tuolagi try and fill that kick-out role, then they're going to destroy these teams. Like, they won't be able to destroy the Australias, the Tongas, and the Englands, but they'll be able to knock off, you know, the teams like France and Greece in the group stage especially. I can see that left side having a field day over either of those sides. Think about it. Jerome Luai, I know Kickout gets a lot of credit and Luai's a bit underrated, but Luai runs that left side, and that Penrith left side outside of South Sydney's left has probably been the most dominant side, attacking side in the NRL over the past few weeks. So I've got Samoa losing the final, but more importantly, because this is what I'm talking about, I got Brian To'o being the top try scorer, my player of the tournament. It's no surprise. I thought going rogue for Australia. I thought maybe I'd go on Munster. Even thought I might go Benny Hunt. I'm going James Tedesco. They've got no pure fullback outside of Latrell, who I think is going to spend most of the tournament in the centres. And as he's been named captain, I think Tedesco is going to play almost every game for Australia. And I think that he's going to carve up, especially in that final, especially in that semi-final. Australia need him to fire. So I expect Tedesco to win the player of the tournament for Australia. Guys, there is my Rugby League World Cup predictions. I've got Australia beating Samoa in the final, To'o to get top try scorer, and James Tedesco to get player of the tournament. Let me know in that comment section, am I just a biased Aussie kangaroo rider? Should New Zealand be in the final? Will New Zealand win it all? I think it really comes down to that semi-final. But in saying that, Samoa and Tonga and even England, if they fire, they're going to cause problems. Guys, smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're going to be covering the Rugby League World Cup. I'm going to be watching as many games as I can. I might skip maybe Greece versus Scotland, but that first game, that second game between Australia and Fiji, I'm going to cover all the big ones, especially the final. So make sure you are subscribed. Leave a comment like I said, and of course, do the classic, smash that like button if you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.